Today is a big moment for Smith Performance Center. We are actually doing something quite new here with having a dietitian at SPC. Up until this point, we've only had physical capacity and tissue capacity. So physical capacity with our coaches, tissue capacity with our physical therapists, where we've really focused on individuals who haven't been able to stay active because they've been hurt and haven't been able to move forward because of pain being a limiter, and then really getting them really comfortable moving in their bodies through strength training and coaching. We've decided to expand into what we're calling energy capacity. So now we're going to have tissue capacity, physical capacity, and energy capacity, which leads us to who we're interviewing today, which is Jackie Hatchew. And her role here as a dietitian at SPC and really leading our energy capacity component for people's health and wellness. So thanks for joining us today. And we're going to start with just a basic question. Who are you and how did you end up here at SPC?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Craig. My name is Jackie Hatchew. I'm a registered dietitian. What brought me here to Smith Performance Center is I kind of have more of a background in sports performance nutrition, which is a great thing to collaborate with when it comes to the energy capacity realm, right? I'm originally from Michigan, and I first got into nutrition because I just wanted to learn about it for myself. And then I learned that it was a career that I could actually make out of it. And so I went into college at Central Michigan University, got my undergrad degree in nutrition and dietetics, and then completed my master's degree at Northern Illinois University, where I also got a specialty in sports nutrition as well as public health. So I was able to kind of get a wide range of that background at Northern Illinois University, which is actually where I found my passion for performance and sports nutrition. So while I was there, I was able to have the opportunity to be a sports nutrition graduate assistant, working with the athletics department there, kind of growing and building that role because at the time there wasn't a dietitian on staff. And so I was able to kind of learn and grow from some of the strength and conditioning coaches there and help them build a nutrition program, which was really exciting. I also took a summer and went to the University of Memphis and worked for their football team under their dietitian who kind of taught me how to grow and build a program so I could bring that back to Northern Illinois when I went.
You did that as a grad student?
I did that as a grad student,
wow.
Yeah. So I saw a posting randomly on a job board and knew I needed to learn from a dietitian because we didn't have that at Northern Illinois. And took a leap and just kind of went for the summer. So it was an awesome experience. Sam, she's now at the Washington Commanders. She was such a great dietitian to learn from because she was building that program from the ground up.
Really cool.
So then after that, I had some pretty good sports nutrition experience. I got the role of assistant. I actually don't remember what the role.
The actual title was. You knew it was a job that you had to actually do, though.
Yes. Assistant Director of Sports Nutrition at Fresno State University, all the little nuances of job titles. But went over there, and so that was my first full-time dietitian role, which was kind of big. I had 12 teams total, really on the Olympic side of things. So basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball, track, cross country, that kind of stuff.
That seems pretty unbelievable. That's a ton of athletes to be managing.
It was a lot of athletes to be managing, but you kind of learn how to adjust your education and what needs to be done per team when you have that many athletes, right? You can't do everything for everyone. You have to make sure that you do the heavy hitters, which could be like team educations and all of that versus
picturing like a trough filled with food. You just like dump food into this trough and they have to eat out of it, or no?
No, not exactly. We were actually really bad. We were really lucky at Fresno. We were getting a lot of food donations.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we would get like fresh fruit delivered to us and just free for our athletes, which was so cool.
Wow. So you would basically help create all the food plans, all of the nutritional things. You're going to make sure all your athletes are doing it. You did that at Fresno State for all of those different athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I would say that not every single athlete got a very specific meal plan. It was more so just an option if they wanted to come and see me, or there were a few specific teams that everyone came and saw me, and we just I don't necessarily give out meal plans, but we would create some healthy habits around fueling and nutrition to make sure that they could reach their goals.
Got it.
Yeah, and then after Fresno State, I came to the University of Arizona as an assistant football dietitian. So I was working with all the Olympic sports and then kind of got the experience working on the football side, which is a little different, but it was super exciting and fun to be able to see both worlds and realms. And so I was there for 2 seasons, kind of growing and building that nutrition department as well, and just helping fuel them in the best way possible. Then during that time, towards the end, I was also doing some outpatient work. So virtually with the company Nourish, working with just like active individuals, growing more onto like the healthy lifestyle and fueling for life and health, and worked with people from like diabetes, hypertension, any of that kind of stuff, which was able to give me a realm outside of just the sports and performance world that I'm really excited to bring into Smith Performance Center.
Your training, there's one part of it that I thought was really interesting that we didn't really talk about much, but it's so you have an emphasis with sports dietitian and public health. You said you have an extra certification. So what did you learn with getting those 2 certifications?
Yeah, so I would say the sports nutrition was a lot more focused on feeling for performance, understanding what you need before, after workout, all of those different like capacities. Whereas the public health more so looks at common issues throughout the general population, right? So how do you identify what common issues are? How do you make plans to address those issues in a larger scale, right? So would that be like you notice in a population there's more rates of diabetes or like food deserts or things like that? Yep, exactly. And then kind of learning how to create plans or larger like laws and programs and things like that to kind of address that.
That's interesting. One of the areas that I really got involved with was injury screening. And I always thought there's an aspect of that with public health. So it's really interesting to have those population level thought processes versus the individual, like how you treat the individual different than these different policy prescriptions. So you've had a very wide breadth of experience from starting programs or starting programs, running programs, doing it across huge amounts of people, but then also somehow managing to individualize it. So how do you individualize somebody's food prescription, or would you even call food prescription? What would you call her?
More like a nutrition plan. You could say food prescription, whatever works for you. But I say that the number one thing for individualization is focusing on the person and what they actually need. So that varies from their daily habits, their sleep habits, what foods they actually enjoy eating, what foods they just don't want to eat in their nutrition plan.
What's the number one food people don't want to eat?
I would honestly say dairy.
Dairy?
Yeah.
Really?
It
like upsets your stomach?
Or like people have a lactose intolerant, or they just don't like the way that dairy makes them feel.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Dairy, and then like tomatoes is probably number 2.
Tomatoes?
Yeah.
That's actually shocking to me.
Yeah.
Are they allergic to they're not allergic, they don't like the taste of tomatoes?
I just don't like the taste.
I thought you were going to say Brussels sprouts or broccoli.
No, people love broccoli actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have a lot of people who are like, I don't like many vegetables, but I'll eat broccoli.
I have heard asparagus because it makes your pee smell weird.
Yeah, that one too. But I would say that I was surprised that most people like don't have a ton of foods that they choose not to eat.
Interesting.
I would expect a lot more. Some people are very, very picky.
Okay.
But others are just like, yeah, I just don't like these 4 vegetables. I'm like, okay, we don't need to eat those.
That's fascinating. So you don't have a lot of times where you have to individualize it based off of that type of food restriction where somebody just doesn't like it.
Not as much. I would say more so based off of foods that they are comfortable preparing.
Okay.
And know how to prepare so they taste good, and just foods that they enjoy more, where there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'll eat that, but I don't love it.
Okay.
So individualization more on like what they're actually going to eat and what they actually prefer and know how to cook.
You know, Sarah, my wife, she's also a physical therapist at SPC, and she runs the operations here. She does not like and can't eat bananas.
Is it because it hurts her stomach?
No. It's I think when she was a kid, she ate a lot of banana muffins. And I think she threw up from it. And now she can't eat bananas, but which is weird, right? So, and she can't have the flavor of it in a smoothie, but she can eat banana chips.
Interesting. I do feel like banana chips feel more savory than a normal banana, so maybe that's why. But I've never heard someone say the banana thing.
I've curtailed some of my banana eating because of it. She doesn't like it. She doesn't help me with that fruit eating. So on that side, she does on other things. But so to kind of pull us back, so why do you think nutrition is an important thing for us to have at Smith Performance Center?
Well, nutrition is an area that many people either are interested, need, or don't necessarily know that they need until they start kicking their butt into gear and actually doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about the physical capacity and the tissue capacity, bringing that energy capacity in, which is often just having enough calories, nutrients, protein, carbohydrates to actually fuel their body and be able to increase their tissue capacity, increase their energy capacity, or even just give your body enough energy, period, to do daily activities and lifestyle things without crashing in the middle of the day. And so I think nutrition is going to be an awesome, not only injury recovery tool that a lot of our members will be able to use, but it'll also just help with their daily lifestyle and healthy habits, making them feel better throughout the day.
Now, we've talked about it before. So tissue capacity, it's really if you can do something without feeling pain. Physical capacity is your way to do it. Energy capacity is really, it's almost foundational that you have the calories, the inputs to make sure that both fuels your tissue rebuild and your ability to do the activity. How often do you see the energy capacity, especially from the nutritional aspect with energy capacity, the main problem if somebody's hurt or not reaching their performance goals?
I would say quite often, but it also depends on a lot of other habits throughout their day, right? So there's the nutrition, but it also goes along with sleep. And so I would say I don't have a specific percentage, but often we find a lot of underfueling, specifically in the athletic population. People think that in order to improve at their sport, they need to not eat, or I'm injured now, I don't need to eat as much. Whereas the opposite is actually true because your body needs to rebuild what is broken or what the problem is. It's a lot more common than people think. And so when people are focused more on their tissue capacity, the physical capacity, they focus primarily on movement and exercise, right? Without realizing that there's a lot of underlying factors that can either help or hinder their progress when it comes to tissue and physical capacity. And nutrition is a huge piece of that. You need the building blocks and the energy to be able to do that movement and exercise and make it positive for your body. So without getting enough protein, carbohydrates, micronutrients, all of those things, we often find that the tissue capacity, if you're trying to recover from an injury or something like that, takes a lot longer to build up, and as well as that physical capacity. So a lot of athletes we find either hit a plateau or they start to decrease in their performance levels if they aren't fueling enough. I would say that underfueling is the main problem that we see with nutrition from a performance perspective.
That's actually super interesting. Actually, one of the things that started our team starting to go down this idea we needed to have a dietitian on the team was actually around these individuals, well, several different injuries, but 3 specifically, recurrent stress fractures or stress reactions in the bone, individuals with recurrent chronic tendon injuries, and then people who seem to just start catching a variety of injuries where we would have solved one problem and that seemed like the next problem then happened. And I think one of the things I've been most interested when I hear how you describe it is you're not somebody who restricts. I've heard you say this actually a few different times in a few different ways. Could you go more into your philosophy on the fueling versus restriction? And then we can go more deep into some of those specific injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a very common misconception that people have is when they meet with a dietitian, they need to go on a diet. And in their mind, that means reducing the amount of food that they're eating and restricting either their favorite foods or just food in general, when that's often not the case.
Why,
So
why is that? Like, why? Because I do feel like there's like this. Is that just a cultural thing? Is this a Instagram model stuff, or is it something else?
I think it's definitely the culture behind body composition and what people have been fed to them their entire lives, right? So from a young age, people are told you need to be skinnier, I want to lose weight, all that kind of thing. And the idea behind it is that, okay, well, if I eat less food, then I'm going to lose weight. But when you consider so many other pieces of your life, such as, am I feeling energized throughout the day? Am I actually performing well? Am I actually, you know, are my health markers in the correct ranges that they need to be? Underfueling and reducing that restriction isn't going to help with that. Some people, yes, we might need to reduce the food that they're eating a little bit, but it should never feel like a restriction or like you're going on a strict diet. Whereas you might just be swapping out a different food for like a fruit or vegetable. But we often find that pure restriction isn't going to help in the long run. It can also, once your body starts to receive less food, so if you are restricting for a longer period of time, then it's going to learn to need less food. And in the long run, that means that they're going to be burning less calories throughout the day, period. And it has the exact opposite effect of what people were looking for.
I've actually seen you make this comment to a couple people, and they looked at you like you were nuts. Did you notice that? When you said it? They're like, I actually do not. I already disagree with you. So I think that's going to be an interesting one to navigate for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's an interesting thing that dietitians have to navigate all the time, strictly because that's what everyone has been taught their entire lives is restriction means that I'm going to be able to lose fat. And to start out, that might be true, right? But like I said, your body adapts. Your body is so smart. It learns what it's getting every single day. And if you're not giving it the actual nutrients that it needs, then it adjusts because it knows that it's never going to get the amount that it actually wants and that it actually needs.
That reminded me of one of the first jobs I had coming out of college in '08 was I worked as a personal trainer, and I thought that the best thing for me would be get as lean as I possibly could. So I did. I did basically chicken and broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
I think. It was not a lot. It was not a lot of food. But I remember being so mentally tired all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been because I was doing the opening and the close at this place. So there also could have been a sleep restriction issue. But I remember that had such a profound impact. It's hard for me now to do anything restrictive because of it. I am really sensitive to not feeling tired. I don't like to feel tired at all.
No, absolutely. And that's a very common issue that a lot of people struggle with when they are trying to get into that lower body fat percent. But it's not just your mental capacity, I guess we could say, that struggles with that when you're in a restriction mindset. It's also your physical. So you aren't able to build any extra muscle. You might be able to lose some fat when you're at that point, but you're not able to build that extra muscle that most people are really looking for. And your body isn't going to recover as well. So after a workout, you might be sore for a few days versus if you're fueling properly, you might be sore for a day or two.
So are you saying I lack muscularity, or is that, no? Not that?
That's
no.
not what
okay,
I'm
that's
saying.
Right. I'm just making sure. So that's so I mean, but it does sound, oftentimes when I hear people talk about things like intermittent fasting, what I'm hearing is a restrictive diet. Is that sometimes it or no?
I think it definitely depends. And so intermittent fasting can be beneficial for some people, but other people it's not as beneficial for. So the people that we find it's not as beneficial for is anyone who's had like a negative relationship with food in the past or has a restriction mindset. So a lot of it is understanding a client's emotional capacity for being in some sort of restrictive pattern. Because we find that intermittent fasting really the benefit of it is that you're skipping a meal, so then it's less calories throughout the day, right? But we find with some people, it can mess with their hormones a little bit.
Whoa.
Especially for females. So we find that females are much more prone to like a cortisol jump in the morning if they haven't had food, versus where males, sometimes it can be a little bit less, like sometimes it can be totally fine.
Okay.
We do find that for people with like diabetes, for example, that intermittent fasting has been shown to help, but it's not for everyone, especially if that person has a negative relationship with food in the past. Skipping that meal in the morning might make them eat more in their eating window. And so it's really learning your client, learning what works for them. And that's where we go back to that individualization.
That's binging, right? Where you eat more food than normal in a period of time, or is that a different thing?
For those people who consistently are doing that, then yes, and that would be considered some sort of binge.
Okay. Oh, I like that. So going back, I see runners often with stress fractures, recurrent stress fractures. And I always think of that. I think that they're underfueling. Can you go more into how does somebody get stuck in a stress fracture cycle based off of what we're saying, energy capacity and nutritional issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that stress fractures, we know, also tend from overuse. And that's the only thing that people think about when it comes from a stress fracture, right? If it's consistent. But if we come back to that energy capacity of the building blocks to build your tissues that you need to heal and keep all of your other tissues healthy, then that's when nutrition becomes so important. And so oftentimes we'll find with people with recurrent stress fractures, they're not getting enough calories throughout the day. Specifically for runners, usually not getting enough carbohydrates either before, during, after their workouts, or even those healthy fats, because we know that that's really important for any sort of endurance athlete. And so when they are continuously restricting or not eating enough to their capacity, because endurance training, marathon training, that takes a lot of energy for your body, right? It's not just like a normal person who's sitting at a desk all day without running 16 miles in the morning, you know? So not compensating for the extra energy that they are putting into their exercise is often what can create those recurrent stress fractures.
We require now, if you have more than one, like in your history, we always require a dietitian consult now. And it's been very helpful, especially if people got stuck in a pattern where it's like every time they try to run or do activity, they get stuck. It's really wild.
What did they say was the most impactful thing that they changed when they saw a dietitian?
I do think the underfueling was a huge one. And it seems to be there. Oftentimes it's the acute versus chronic training load. It seems where they make mistakes. Like they start to increase dramatically and it doesn't feel hard, but their fueling doesn't match the increase in load. Really similar to how you said. I don't know if it's delayed in them or they don't get the right signal, but for some reason, it not even on purpose, they'll have times where they just completely underfuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of leads to my next question, which is, I was very excited with your background and as a sports dietitian with that knowledge that you bring. How does that apply to a general population who's trying to be physically active?
Absolutely. And so I think that when it comes to collegiate athletes, which is what I've primarily worked with in my history, and then just an active individual, is that it's still similar components that work. It might just not be in the same amount in calories, right? So when I was working with the football players, they need to eat probably a large breakfast that could be up to like 800 calories in the morning, which I'm not going to suggest for a general person, right?
Okay.
But I'm still going to suggest that they're eating something before they work out if they want to be able to rebuild that muscle faster and feel good during their workout. So it's similar components, just not as much in the same amount of food that they might need to be eating.
Implementation might be a little bit different.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so if you're one of the ideas that we keep coming back to is physical capacity versus energy capacity, obviously this is a key concept at our company, which is the idea of the interaction between tissue capacity, physical capacity, and energy capacity. How do you help somebody differentiate if they have a physical capacity versus a tissue capacity versus an energy capacity issue as a dietitian?
Yeah, I think that what's really important and that I love about Smith Performance Center is that we have someone for every single area. And so it's not going to be just me as a dietitian lively working with this person, but I'm able to collaborate with the physical therapists and the strength and conditioning coaches here. But the main thing that I would do to kind of figure out how to if this person is struggling with energy capacity, tissue capacity, or physical capacity, is just learning about their day-to-day lives and their daily habits, right? So learning how are your sleep habits? What exactly are you eating throughout the day? Does that differ from day to day, weekday, weekend? How is your hydration? All of those things. Whereas if I think that they are properly fueling, reaching all of their calorie and nutrition goals, then it might not be an energy capacity issue, right? But if they are struggling with something, I'm able to refer to whoever that I think would be able to help them best. If it is a tissue capacity or if it is that physical capacity, then we are able to collaborate and get the right treatment for the person.
You get at the root issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I often think dietitians often get underutilized because I don't know if everyone knows how much training you guys have as a profession. It seems to be much more than what I realized when I got into the fitness industry, because we had a lot of people who did nutrition counseling that I'm not sure I exactly trust the counseling they were giving, to put it in like a nice way. How do you handle that aspect of it? Like the idea of there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things. What's your normal way to handle people saying wild things about what they should be doing?
Absolutely. I think that you have to read the room a little bit, obviously. Where someone is extremely passionate about the advice that they are like telling me, then you also have to understand that there's a reason that they believe that.
Because it might be working for them in some ways, right?
Exactly. So it's learning how to slowly like find the facts and present the facts in a way that's not feeling like an attack on what they're believing. But I think it's so common that there's the big difference between nutritionist and dietitian, right? Whereas a nutritionist can have like a shorter certification or maybe sometimes no certification at all. Whereas a dietitian, we have 4 years of undergrad, we have to have a master's degree, and then we have to have a supervised practice internship. That's about 9 months working under another dietitian and another professional. And then we have to take an exam at the end of all of that. And so we have a lot of schooling and education.
A lot of training.
Yeah. So that means that you know that when you're working with a dietitian, it's going to be science-based and they're able to help you with whatever problem it is, right? So a nutritionist might be able to make you a meal plan, which we know doesn't always last as long as you would like it to, whereas a dietitian can really get to the root cause of your problem, understand if there's other underlying issues that might be causing it, and be able to help you with all of those. So we have a really immense training and really from childhood nutrition to elderly nutrition to sports nutrition, medical nutrition therapy. Dietitians are the only ones who are able to do medical nutrition therapy, working with like your diabetes levels and trying to reduce that blood pressure. So I think it's really important that if you are looking to work with someone, that it is a dietitian and not necessarily just a nutritionist.
And it sounds like it means that there's other pathways besides like medications, for example, which when we've talked before about supplements. Now, we had some levels that you have for people learning about their food intake, their nutrition, and supplementation is part of that. Could you take us through your kind of process on deciding if somebody needs a supplement and what those supplements would look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing to know, I think, is that a supplement is exactly that. A supplement is meant to supplement your diet. It's not meant to be the only thing that's giving you that specific nutrient in your diet.
So you wouldn't just start with your day with just supplements?
Absolutely.
And you wouldn't start so you're not just saying go get a creatine shake and that's all you have today.
Protein shakes are the only protein you're getting in your diet. You're just a multivitamin and you're fine.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
No, so supplements are great to kind of fill in the gaps where your nutrition is not meeting your needs. But supplementation is something that we don't just hit off the bat. We need to make sure that if we're providing a supplement, I understand what you're actually eating in your day first. So, for example, if we find that you're having a really hard time just getting in your protein, if it's a busy working individual, right? And they're going from the gym, they're like, I don't have time to eat an entire breakfast sandwich. I'm like, can you have a protein shake on your desk? So that's an area where getting in that extra protein, for example, after a workout might need a supplementation versus having the real food option.
Got it.
So really it's first understanding where their current nutritional needs and their intake is to start. But you mentioned creatine, for example. Creatine is an awesome, heavily studied supplement that I think a lot of people can benefit from, specifically within that muscle growth perspective, or even when you're looking at the aging population, looking at brain health. So there's a lot of new studies on creatine and brain health. And so that's something that if I think a person would benefit from it, then it's something that I would likely suggest, but I would want to understand kind of where their goals are first, where their education is around supplements, their education is around nutrition. I'm not going to immediately just say, you need a supplement, goodbye, right? We're going to try to fix it from multiple areas.
I like that. It's a great way. So we're not going to be just pushing supplements on people.
No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get that makes sense.
If it can benefit them and that it's tough for them to get it in their normal diet, then yeah, supplements can be very beneficial and help them, but not off the bat.
And I've heard you say this before. What's the difference between somebody working with a dietitian and actually working with ChatGPT?
The AI dietitian challenge.
Yeah.
I think that it really stems from a lot of people know what to eat already. And so you can type into AI and get a meal plan sent to you and it tells you what to eat. But that's not usually people's issue and problem with it, right? So you can get a meal plan, follow it for a week, but then what's really causing you to not see those long-term results and be able to follow it for a long time? It's the accountability. It's the consistency and really understanding why you're eating those specific things and having someone to be able to talk with you about it and change based on your lifestyle habits, where ChatGPT can't necessarily do, whereas a dietitian can help you understand the root cause of your problems. If a structured meal plan is even beneficial for you, and a dietitian really helps build those strong habits so it can be a long lifestyle change instead of just a temporary fix or a Band-Aid.
It's the implementation methodology.
Absolutely.
It's like the way that you're getting somebody to build the skill, build the tools, make sure they have the foundation, and then be able to do it for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. Right. And I think the accountability is huge with that too. That's something that I find with a lot of my clients who say, you know, I know what I need to eat, but knowing that you're looking at it and I have to tell you and you have to hold me accountable makes me do it a lot more.
How do you do that? How do you see what they're actually eating?
So there's a lot of different ways. So some people do written food logs. We do photo food logs is my favorite because then it allows me to see like the amount of food that they're eating, or there's a lot of other tracking services as well.
So they like take a photo of it, put it on Instagram?
Not on Instagram, but more so of a like an app that allows just them and me to see.
Yeah, got it. Okay. If you were going to have somebody, they walk in here today and they're going to have their first session with you, what does the first session look like?
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm going to get to know them as a person. So what are their goals? Why do they want to see a dietitian, or why are they referred to see a dietitian? What do they really want to get out of our sessions together? Learning about them and who they are and what they want is always going to be number one. Next, we're going to break down lots of different habits in their day-to-day life. So we'll walk through what a typical day looks like for them from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. And that includes sleep, food, hydration. We'll discuss stress levels and how that might be impacting either emotional eating or just how their body is responding to food or exercise and all of that. We'll also go through their exercise plan if that's something that they enjoy. So we really understand them as a whole, understanding not just nutrition habits, but daily lifestyle habits. Because that's what we're really focused on, is habit change and making that long-term sustainability. And then at the end of the session, we will make a couple of goals just so that they can work on until our next session. And then we'll kind of schedule out a few more times to meet up to help with that accountability piece and fix and see what else they need to learn or educate themselves on.
Okay. And when they come in, well, I guess again, kind of pulling back a second, what would tell somebody that they need to come in?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different reasons that seeing a dietitian can be beneficial. First of all, we talked about energy capacity and maybe energy crashes throughout the day, not feeling motivated to, complete the rest of their day, getting tired at 3 p.m. and feeling like you need to have
Interesting. So low motivation, but also energy crashes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If they're at a plateau in their performance or their injury recovery, right? They've been doing everything right, but it's just not working, or it's just going a lot slower than what they would expect. If they just really want to understand nutrition a little bit more, I think that there's, like we talked about, there's a lot of information out there, and really understanding what is true, what is not, it can be confusing. And so even just learning that education and what they should be doing for their body and what can help them is a great reason to see a dietitian as well.
Now, I've heard you talk about your food philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And you call it all foods fit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. So an all foods fit approach means that we can find room for whatever food that you enjoy in your nutrition plan. And so a lot of people think that going to see a dietitian, you're going to go on a diet, you're going to not be able to eat your favorite foods, and really just not live that fun of a life anymore.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be a worse life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When it's really going to be the opposite, because what we're doing is improving your life by giving you energy throughout the day and giving you a little bit of food freedom.
That's a cool way to say that, food freedom.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people feel scared to eat their favorite foods because they know that for example, let's say it's a pack of Oreo cookies. They're scared to even give themselves the option to eat the Oreo cookies because they're afraid they're going to eat the whole entire sleeve. Whereas we work to incorporate those, but maybe in a smaller capacity. And so when you work with me, I'm never going to take out your favorite foods. I'm always going to find a way to make that incorporated into your nutrition plan, because every food has some sort of benefit. A lot of times we only focus on the nutritional benefit of food, right? You think fruits and vegetables, I need the micronutrients. But what about the happiness component that some food brings you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if I wasn't able to eat dessert anymore, that would reduce a happiness component of my life that would make me not want to go and see a dietitian. But if I'm able to slowly incorporate that dessert, whether it's a little bit after a meal, or if you're an athlete and we're focusing on let's say somebody really loves candy, instead of them having it at the end of the day before they go to bed, maybe we're going to incorporate that a little bit closer to their exercise. And then it's going to be beneficial anyways. It's going to give them those quick digesting carbs that they need after a workout, no matter what. And so there's always a way to incorporate your favorite foods that's going to be beneficial for you.
My favorite food is chicken wings.
Okay.
So how would I incorporate that so I could have more of it on a daily basis?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say more of it on a daily basis.
I got it. So you would say it'd be timing of when I have it, and maybe the amount of it.
Yes, it'd be timing of when you have it. I'm not going to say that you could eat fried chicken for every single meal and that's going to be beneficial for you.
You're not saying that.
I'm not saying
that. I'm sure that's not what you're saying. Okay.
But we could incorporate it maybe a couple times a week, or make sure that it's, the amount is reduced. Maybe we do a little bit of fried chicken with a little bit of grilled chicken as your protein for that meal, instead of just a bunch of fried chicken, right?
Got it. But chicken wings specifically are fine. As long as they're not fried, but they're baked, I guess, or grilled.
They can definitely have an important piece in your diet. I still wouldn't say eat chicken wings for every single meal.
All right. So you heard it from Jackie first. We can have it. So I guess to finish, if somebody's not able to come see you today and they're listening to this right now, do you have any nutrition advice or simple habits or tools that you'd have them to start this process on their own? Anything that you would advise them on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that one of the common issues that we talk about is underfueling. So first of all, I would say just recognize how you're feeling throughout the day. So if you notice that there's a time in the middle of the day that you're feeling super exhausted, maybe you haven't eaten in 5 hours, and incorporating some sort of high protein stack could be beneficial just to reduce that crash. I'm always going to say increasing your fruits and vegetables has a much bigger impact than people realize. So those micronutrients really help with reducing inflammation, focus, any processes that really happen in your body. Your fruits and veggies are really going to help with. And then focusing on making sure that they're getting enough protein consistently throughout their day.
Okay. So first, recognize if you are feeling energy crashes, fruits and vegetables, and then protein.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we're bringing Jackie into the SPC team and how you can see it's going to make a big difference in how our place is going to operate. So like she was saying, nutrition's not perfection. Chicken wings can be part of your diet. And it's not about restriction or like really following the latest trend. It's about bringing it in this cohesive package like we're talking about here with energy capacity, physical capacity, tissue capacity. They work together, and having somebody on our team who's able to handle that entire aspect is going to be a game changer for us. So she's officially leading our energy capacity. She's available to work with, and she's going to be really leading our team forward in this area. So welcome to SPC, and very excited to see what you do.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe on our YouTube channel, Smith Performance Center. You can also follow us on the Past Your Prime podcast that I co-host with Alex Kiker, where he gets hurt a ridiculous amount of times and we figure out some ways to help him and ways he can be helped. You can also subscribe on Instagram or Facebook. You can join our newsletter on the Smith Performance Center website. And you can, if you're in Tucson, feel free to swing by, check out our facility in the middle of town. I don't know why I said it that way, but you're more than welcome to come visit us in person. I think that's a good place for us to stop. Thanks for your time.